It's your girl Shree. Shree Bad. How y'all feeling? How y'all doing? I almost said something different. Like, no, I gotta let them know it's me. Okay. Um, as usual, the universe plays its part in everything that I do. Which is crazy in itself. Okay? Because I've been kind of avoiding. I've been kind of avoiding the universe for a hot minute. And when I say the universe, trust me, I mean the spiritual aspects of the universe as I knew it. Okay? I got a couple things to talk about in regards to that. But before I go any further, the title of this live is called In Memorandum: Lessons Remembered from the NatureNuts saga. Okay? In pure universe fashion, let me tell y'all, this is the second video that I'm doing. Okay? I did a video yesterday. I did a live yesterday when I was walking through the streets doing In Memorandum: Lessons Learned from NatureNuts. And I was 6 minutes in, and I saw my coworker, and I cut the live off. Okay? So once again, the universe has provided me with a second attempt at this shit. Okay? But because a whole bunch of hours have passed, okay? The universe has once again made me come to y'all at a different angle. Okay? So hopefully I don't stay long. Hopefully I'm quick enough and I can do a part 2 like Hood Horrors. Hopefully I won't have 45 parts to this. All right? And it's better than I chew on food while I'm talking about nature nuts. Because, child, I don't want to be 95 pounds talking about this extra shit. What the hell I don't even talk about. Okay? Not even 3 minutes and I already did it. Yeah, I cuss, y'all. It's just what nature nuts, man, it's crazy. Now, let me get to what I was talking about. Okay, what I wanted to tell y'all with this universe here. When I became a part of the nature boy sector, which are the people who did not like nature nuts, right? Did not like what he did, none of that shit. Okay? Every second we could get, we was talking about where he was wrong at. You know, how his sciences was false and garbage. And if y'all go back to my old lives, I used to come on here, talk about nature nuts, especially when he would talk about Kundalini. Okay? Oh hell no, demon. You're not gonna make people hate yoga. So I spoke out in that vein. Of course, the people who followed him were dumb and they, he ain't make no new thought in his whole body. He just took a whole bunch of shit that suited him and put it together and made jambalaya. And we knew that, he ran a leper colony. Pretty much. Of the sexual nature. Okay? We knew all that. But my focus was yoga. Because back then, I was a yoga instructor. Okay? And I was a yogini. I practiced yoga all day, every day. And then something happened to me, and I moved to personal training. All right, group fitness and all that. So I was doing yoga and personal training and group fitness. So I was in the world and of the world. Okay? Now here's how that universe works. Look it up. Look it up. You ever heard of a yogi? All right. So, so, like I said in the last live, which y'all ain't never get to hear, I did not come into the Nature Boy saga in the middle, so to speak. I came in right after Velvet left Olmec, and she was with NatureNuts around the first, second, and third times. Okay, yeah, and he was talking all kind of crazy back then, and like I said, oh no, I'll skip forward. I stopped dealing with the NatureNut sector. Well, not the NatureNut sector, but the whole Nature Boy saga. You know, a little bit after Janae came into play. The first time. You know, I was around when, you know, she was with TKO and all that extra shit because when NatureNuts went to Bigo, we were like, you know what, we're going to leave him over there. Fuck him. You know what I'm saying? He's already pretty debilitated and all that shit. But then when we realized the money, we was like, wait a minute. If he can make money, we can make money too. How about that? Because the last person who should be making money anyway is this demon fool. Right? So let's all go over there. That was, you know, me and my team and, you know, the general consensus of certain people at the time. And it was like, I wasn't making no money on YT like that at all. I wasn't even monetized when I was at Bigo. Now on the other side, I got monetized over here after that. And I lost my monetization over here. So I'm still chilling on the other side. Word up. Anywho, what I'm trying to say is, it came a time when I wasn't looking at the trial. I wasn't looking at none of that. All right? I was just praying for him to go to jail for a long ass time. You know, I wasn't really involved anymore. There were certain lessons that I learned, you know, and I started applying them. Right? But there were consequences to that as well because at some point in time, I didn't do yoga anymore. Okay? I stopped practicing. You know, stopped being a yogini. Yoga ain't go nowhere. It's still all over my crib and stuff, but I just wasn't into it as much as before. I became Shrubad Lee instead of Shrubad called Cashapp Mom. Okay? And going back to the universe and today. Hey James, how you boo? I saw a lady today that, you know, lives on my block. And there's a marathon, half marathon going on right now, going through my neighborhood, okay? So, you know, I said to her, I'm surprised you're not out there. She said, I'm surprised you're not out there. I was like, you know what? A couple of years ago, I might have been out there. But now, I'm chilling in the cut. Okay? So she started laughing. And she was like, didn't you used to do yoga? And I was like, bah, humbug. And when I said it, I was like, damn, really? For real? I was like, yeah, I ain't really doing that no more. All right? So we were talking about the physical aspects of yoga, okay? You know, she was like how she took a class and all this. And I was like, it's funny because the yoga type of yoga I used to teach, other yoga schools will call it grandma yoga, you know? So she was like, you should teach again. You know, I'll take your class. And I knew the lady, but I ain't connect with her too tough, you know? It was the first time I really connected with the lady. For her to remember that I do yoga after all these years was crazy. Now, here's the craziest part about the universe. Earlier this morning, actually, I was on the other side. I was on Bigo. And there was a guy on a panel who called himself Shiva Heru. Okay, so Shiva is Hindu and Heru is Egyptian. All right. So I kind of understood why he called himself that name, but y'all remember who I'm is. Okay? I'm by the V. What you mean? I'm a yogini. I know my shit. Hello? 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 He forgot who I was, children. Okay, children. Yes, my mom. Okay? They must have forgot. And they did. And they did. So, you know, me going back and forth with him, I was like, oh wow, you do not understand who Shiva is at all. So I ended up doing an 11-minute virtual live on the other side, talking about why Shiva is so great. And I ended up chanting a mantra 3 times. Okay, in honor of Shiva. Tell me that ain't wild. You see how the universe works? Chabble. Of course they forgot because they don't know what my name means. They don't you know how people claim to be one thing but don't fully understand the thing that they claiming, James? I'm not one of those people. If I'm claiming something, I'm gonna know as much as I can about it. I'm gonna know shit that you will never understand. I'm gonna go deep dive in that mug. You heard me? So yeah. So it's kind of fucking crazy with the universe that I'm about to do this Lessons of NatureNuts thing in Memorandum. And the first thing that I'm remembering is the very thing that made me do videos on his ass in the first place. Yoga. Whether it's Kundalini yoga, Vinyasa yoga, pranayama. You know what I'm saying? Bhakti yoga, who the hell cares? Just yoga. And I didn't talk about that yesterday at all. I went into the whole Hulu and hood horrors and all that extra. Right? But now that I got this yoga aspect in it, I'm like, yo, this is another thing to remember from the NatureNuts saga. What I sacrificed to maintain my peace, to get that shit off of me. Okay? But that nigga was a demon. Through social media, his nasty energy was able to permeate a lot of fucking people, whether we liked it or not. And it was worse if you consider yourself an empath. Okay? Because narcissists love empaths Okay, Velvet? You know you a covert narcissist? Mm-hmm. 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 That's another lesson I had to remember, y'all. You see a narcissist, you run. Take everything you can with you and leave the fucking rest. You hear me? Don't let no narcissist claim nothing over you. You see them, you know them, you run. Okay? And don't look back. I keep asking myself if I'm a narcissist. And everything keeps telling me that if I have to ask if I'm a narcissist, if I'm sitting here believing that I'm a fucking narcissist, then I'm not a narcissist. Because narcissists get the most upset when you call them narcissists. But with a demon, well, you know what? Low-level demons. And you know what? I was talking about this today with that Shiva Heru guy because he thought that he knew something about spirituality or religion coming from the point of view of Hinduism, and you really don't. Because, remember, he called himself Shiva Heru, right? When we started talking about King James in the Bible. So he said, Shiva is like Jesus. I said, no, he not. Hell no. Them is two different gods. Jesus ain't no God. Yes, James. Exactly. We all have it. You know. All right. That's like good and evil. You know what I'm saying? We all are vain. There are times where we have to apply certain things to us for survival, for peace. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be love, hate, violence, you know what I mean? Vanity, whatever. A little bit ain't bad. A lot of it is fucked up. And using it for selfish gain is always bad. You know what? Let me put y'all on to something. I'm going to tell you the difference between Hinduism and Christianity. Okay? I am. I'll tell you right now. And it has absolutely nothing to do with Jesus, okay? Nothing to do with Jesus. Nothing. In Christianity, excuse me, the concept of a demon is something, yes, it's evil, but usually it's a demon because it's under the influence of Satan, right? And there's a whole concept of hell, and Satan and Lucifer, you know what I'm saying? And the fallen angel becomes the big demon and all this extra shit, right? All that. Okay. And we'll get to that more in a second, all right? Now, in Hinduism, there is the concept of a demon. There is no concept of hell. Okay? Not really. No. Your ego can create hell in your mind. Okay? There is no concept of a place called hell. There is no concept of some evil being that permeates through everything that's a counterpoint to one God. Because remember, in Hinduism, there are many gods and they do many things. And there are three central gods: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The creator, the destroyer, and the sustainer. Just because you destroy shit don't mean you're evil. All right? Now, let's get back to the concept of being a demon in Hinduism. A demon can be anyone and anything, even a god. And if you use your God, your powers, your talents, your very essence and being for selfish reasons, and not for the greater good or for selfless reasons, you become an asura. You become a demon. So now, let's get back to the concept of Lucifer, shall we? Is Lucifer a demon? No. You can call Lucifer the devil, but he's not a demon. What you mean, Shree? Demons serve the devil in hell. They sometimes come to earth and wreak havoc on humans. Humans can become demons or angels, right? Yay! Lucifer, aka Satan, was an angel. And even after he became Lucifer, he still was able to go to the heavenly meetings. Okay? He used to have one-on-one conversations with God in your Bible. Job, Daniel, Jesus. When Jesus came about, Most High said, I don't want to talk to you no more, Lucy. Lucy went straight to talk to Jesus. Y'all ain't see the Passion of the Christ. What you mean? Lucifer was always an angel. He just fell. He was the boss of the demons, okay? He could turn you into demon. Maybe. Sometimes, depending on what kind of person you is, shit. Okay? So, the concept of all that shit don't matter. Okay? Now that you know that, you could call Lucifer an evil angel if that's the case, right? That might shift your mind a little bit. All right? He's an evil angel. There's demons out there. Shiva is not a demon. He's a god. However, Shiva likes to smoke weed with demons and goblins and shit in cemeteries. And if they offered him skulls with blood in it to drink because that's their custom, he would drink it. Why? Because it wouldn't poison him. It wouldn't turn him into them. Shiva is the void. I'm going to repeat that. Shiva is the void. Things come out of that. Destruction returns to the void. Anything that is destroyed returns to the void. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Right? It turns into nothingness. That is destruction. And in that nothingness, 1 is created, 2 is created, 3 is created. Millions and billions and trillions. Out of that nothingness comes another level of void that sustains all the living shit. That 1 that came out of nothingness is creation, the creation, not the creator. The creator reverts to nothing. Who made the nothing? That is the Most High. Not always, the one. The all is nothing and everything at the same time. Your brain cannot handle that. Why? Because you got an ego. Shiva had no ego. Hey, Osunyemi. And I ain't at NatureNuts yet. I'm talking about this other guy on Bigo, Osunyemi. So, I had to check him. And I'm glad I checked them and I came back to y'all to talk about things because I gave y'all one lesson already. You see a narcissist, you run, right? Oh, okay, cool. You see a narcissist, you run. You heard? Another lesson that I learned during the NatureNuts saga is that respect from fear never works. It's always an epic fail. Yep. Think about it. Now, I'll go to the NatureNuts level and then I'll even take you on a deeper level, okay? Now, NatureNuts. Now, okay, let's get back to this here. I never watched the Hulu documentary of the NatureNuts garbage, okay? When the Hulu one, they was like, oh, the Hulu got the thing out. I said, child boo, I don't want no parts. I don't want to even be reminded of this shit. I learned not to trauma bond with nobody. Child, we get to that a little bit later. That's another lesson. Okay? But, I watched my sis Fundi Fee. And Fundi Fee say, I ain't messing with no Hulu. I'm watching Hood Horrors. So I said, Hood Horrors? What the hell is that? Who is that? Who is this Hood Horrors? Child boo. I went to Hood Horrors and I done spent 2.5 days watching 45 episodes of this shit. Okay? Now, that's why in the beginning I told y'all when I jumped into the Nature Boy shit, right? And I want to say this about Hood Horrors before I go any further. Shout out to Hood Horrors. He did an excellent job. I still to this day ain't watched the Hulu one, but I was thoroughly impressed with what Hood Horrors did. Now, mind you, there are a couple of things that he left out that I myself witnessed, but I realized, and he explained it later, like around episode 22 or 23, that there are certain things that they said or they did that if he put it out, YouTube would flag him. Not even regular people, YouTube and their guidelines would flag him. And they already flagged him on that episode 22 or 23. So he tells you in that one, yo, the video is grainy because this is a draft. I had to edit shit out because the original one I put out, they took that shit out because he done said and did, and you know what I mean? Excuse me. So even though you never saw the part when Eliana pushed out that baby and NatureNuts said, that's my next wife. Yeah. Yeah. A couple other things too. So shout out to Hood Horrors. All right? He was accurate enough. You heard me? And why? Because he did it the old school style that we like. He showed their footage. Shout out to the T before the T started talking. Okay? The worst thing they could have ever did was dox the T and make the T start talking. Okay? The T was most effective when the T said nothing and you only saw what you saw. Okay? Once the T started talking, then it started being a little bit more biased. And not to say she was going to bias me toward another place. No, I already disliked NatureNuts. I already saw for myself what the fuck was wrong with NatureNuts. But I don't need to hear you tell me. I already got my people telling me. I agree with them. And I damn sure didn't like when Shorty got caught trying to drone drugs or ship drugs out there and then use the T real name when they arrested her ass. They should have never put her on the stand. She committed a federal crime. The motherfuckers is lucky they did that shit in Georgia. Because if they did that shit in New York, she'd have never made it to the stand. They'd have been like, yo, she got federal charges for lying on somebody's name. They'd have brought that shit up and the fucking defense would have been done. Done. Some lawyer in New York would have been like, yo, we can't have her up because she went to jail for you and used the T's fake name. Hell no, we're going to immediately lose this case. Are you stupid? Actually, in New York, if this happened, he would have never seen a grand jury. They would have showed him them tapes. Then they would have took his ass to jail. You know, enter court. They'd have been like, grand jury already convened. Bye-bye. You don't want to take the 7 years? Cool. We can put you for life. Bye-bye. See you later. However, let me get to the point. In watching the Hood Horrors documentary, the lesson of respect from fear gets you nowhere stood the fuck out. Okay? When someone fears you into respect, they learn to create a mask. Okay? On the one hand, you see it, and it's actually two masks, not one. Okay? This is a double-sided mask that they put up. All right? The one side is of submission to you. Yes, I will do what you ask, right? Because now they feel like they're in a situation that they really can't get out of, either mentally or physically, or fear of being physically abused or emotionally abused, or, you know, they got their mind so brainwashed or whatever, you know, hey. But when something clicks in their mind that they must leave, one face will show submission. The other face shows everything else. But the main thing that stands out under that second mask that faces the person that put on the mask is focus. They are plotting their escape. They are plotting their demise. And anyone that respects you out of hard work, pure intention, experience, looking at what you do, valuing you as a person, you showing that you are a decent fucking person, they respect you because you earned that shit the right way. Ain't nobody got to plot your demise. They'll celebrate you. They be like, hell yeah, dude. I'm glad you're doing good. Can I help you do better? What? Ain't nobody got a plot to escape a motherfuck thing. If they don't want to be there no more, they'll just be like, you know what? I respect you so much, I just don't want to be here anymore. And you as a respectful person be like, all right, cool. Ain't nobody got to be manipulated. None of that shit. Nobody is in fear. Nobody is trying to snake you. Nobody will be disloyal to you. Even when they leave, it will not be a loyalty or disloyalty type of situation. Nobody had to do your funky ass dirty. If you didn't do them dirty the fuck first. The reason why he's a narcissist is because he doesn't see that he did anything wrong. I didn't do nothing to them. Are you fucking dumb? But you thought you could get respect from fear. You had them motherfuckers lying down face first in the corner 4 hours, all this degrading ass shit. Who the fuck was really gonna be fucking dedicated to you like that once they realized what the fuck was really going on? Are you dumb? Hell no. Respect from fear never works. And let me give you the best example of that. God tell you to do all kinds of things every day. God got 10 commandments for your ass. The things you ain't supposed to fucking do. But because you got the fear of God, you break at least 3 of those commandments every single day, whether you like it or not, whether you justify it or not. Mm-hmm. You lie, you cheat, you steal. Okay? 9 out of 10 Americans are going to lie, cheat, or steal at any given moment throughout the day. Maybe more than once. You might not steal to commit a crime, but you might get over. You know what I'm saying? That bag might be 5 cents, and you be like, you know what, let me take this bag real quick and ain't got to pay no 5 cents. Mm-hmm. Ain't that stealing, though? I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, so I'm not going to tell them the truth because I don't want to hurt their feelings. Ain't that lying, though? I don't want to, I ain't having no physical sex, with this person because I got a wife or I got a husband, but they send me pictures of they boom boom or they ding-a-ling and all that fly shit anyway. Ain't that cheating? What the fear of God get it? What did the fear of God get God? Why do you think in the New Testament the God changed the fucking rhyme scheme and made Jesus, I love you, let's be loving, let's be peaceful? Yeah, because y'all wasn't listening with the fear of fucking God. Y'all still ain't fucking listening now. That's why none of them motherfuckers care. Shit. If you think about it. So, children, what have we learned? We have learned 1, you see a narcissist, you run fast, you run free, you run straight away. We learned 2, if they're telling you it's new knowledge, it ain't no new damn knowledge. Okay? I forgot to mention that one. If it's new knowledge, it ain't no knowledge at all. There is nothing new under the sun. Okay? More than likely, if somebody's telling you this is a new knowledge, and I ain't talking about science, this is a new knowledge. They just took a whole bunch of old knowledge and fucking manipulated that shit in their own way and created new piss to rain down on your head to tell you it's raining. That's all. They just made new piss from the same old waste. Okay? And then rained it upon your head and told you I'm God. Really? Fuck out of here. That's why I beatbox with the motherfucker anyway. That's why I went and did videos on his ass. Because he was like, oh yeah, the Kundalini, to justify your perverted ass. That's not what the Kundalini is about, Mr. Man. At all. Because I'll tell you this much. If he knew anything about Kundalini and the feminine aspect of it, he would know that men should prostrate to that goddess. Okay? In order to reach the Kundalini properly, you must surrender to it, not submit, you fool. Okay? So, we got that. We got respect from fear. Does not end well. There is no loyalty. There is no faithfulness. There is no gratefulness. What do you mean? Are you dumb? Now, I'm going to give you the perfect example of that from NatureNuts. The entire story of Solar is the lesson of respect from fear breeds contempt, resentment. Evil begets evil, friends. That's the B part to that. Look at our friend, Solar. Well, he ain't my friend, but, generally speaking, look at our guy, Solar. Solar came in there goofy, ready to follow at the drop of a dime with his light-skinned self. He brought a girl to the fold. This is my girl, Zoka. I'm bringing her here. And then the next thing you know, she taking pictures with NatureNuts. You think he liked that? Hell no. But he ain't saying nothing. He in the trap. He the bees in the trap. Whenever NatureNuts decided to throw these girls back to these beta males, he did. So now you getting scraps. You getting pieces of Zoka. You ain't getting full Zoka no more. You getting pieces of her. Zoka gets pregnant. And apparently, under NatureNuts' watch, she ends up drinking 6 shots of alcohol. And used to call it a demon baby because the baby father wasn't him. And they lost that baby. You think when an episode, whatever it was, of Hood Horrors, Solar looked that camera straight on and said, I know this much. Nature Boy owes me a daughter. You think that was what was supposed to happen? You didn't think he would act like that or react like that? Because there was respect from fear, which is false. That's not respect at all. That'll make a motherfucker say that and then go have babies with not only your Queen Velvet, but the same girl that put you in the jail in the first place, Wody. Another woman that he brought, and not for you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm still eating, y'all. Another lesson that I remember from the NatureNuts saga is not to trauma bond, okay? And that's a really easy thing to do. I mean, you want to make connections and shit, right? You want to be able to help people and all of that. And when you consider yourself empathic, you can tap into other people's feelings and their auras and all this other fly shit, But trauma bonding is different, okay? The only thing that we got that connects us is this trauma right here. That to manipulate you in a specific way, to my benefit. I'm going to use that to justify anything and everything that I do that is evil. That shit is whack. Okay, that ain't the winner. No. We're not to do that. Okay, you're not going to have me relive my trauma just to accentuate your bullshit. No. Sorry. Well, you did this bullshit. Well, remember, I went through this just like you. No. Sorry. Yittity. No way. Nah, B. No. We don't do that either. We recognize that shit. All right. Oh, 45 minutes I've been yakking? Shit. I want to eat the rest of this food. Maybe I will have a part two because there's many lessons that I learned from that SOB. And Fundi V. All right? Shout out to Fundi V every time. Shout out, boo. Fundi V told me how to protect myself from this bullshit. Okay? And I need to remember that too. All them lessons she taught me is half of it is what I'm telling you. You might not be an empath. That's okay. Protect yourself anyway. All right? I'll leave you with a couple of gems that I picked up when I was watching this shit. Okay? True was probably the healthiest motherfucker in carbonation. And only probably got a disease after Sheba went to NatureNuts. Because remember, he ain't want her. Many times they didn't have sex. Okay? She went back to him and was all up under him because she didn't want to stay with everybody else sleeping on the floor and not having no access to no bathroom or none of that. She wanted her and her son to have better living conditions. Okay? So that's why she did that. NatureNuts thought he won something when he was able to conquer Velvet. He did not realize that she was a challenge only because she was a covert narcissist. And you unlocked the demon in her. Well, you didn't only unlock that. You also unlocked the boom boom, because then after that, she done had kids out the wazoo. If you had only stayed with her, you could have had 5 clones of your fucking self. Instead, you fucked her over so bad, she had a clone of you. She had a clone of Solar, a boy. Oh, wouldn't you have loved a boy that looked exactly like you? That's why he didn't like them other kids, because Eliana looked a lot like him. She was pretty much his twin in the face. That was his legacy. Not the other ones he had before that didn't look like him. That's how narcissistic and sociopathic he was, all right? More lessons later, y'all. I'll holler at y'all. Thank you for everybody that came through. James, Osunyemi. You know, y'all might not understand what the fuck I'm talking about. And that's okay, too. I'm not mad. I don't have that much ego to worry about how the fuck you feel. I don't need attention, nor do I care. All right? You can tell me I'm wrong. I'll be like, okay, cool. And depending on who you are, I'll be like, ooh, why you think I'm wrong? If I care. If I care. All right? I'll holler at y'all. Peace.